Welcome to Tapestry Feminine Collective Podcast, the show featuring presenters and artists from the 1111 Tapestry Feminine Collective experience. Now, here's your host. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Arlia Hoffman with Tapestry Feminine Collective. I'm also with the Women's Agency, and we are happy to be an Indigo sponsor for Tapestry. And as part of my offering is this podcast. I'm having the best time talking with many of our presenters. And I invite you to go back and listen to some of those conversations, as well as the first 4 episodes where Jacqueline lays out her vision for Tapestry and the energies that undergird this project and this community and this movement we're about. And you can learn more about it at tapestryfemininecollective.com. There's a live event happening November 10, 11, and 12, 2023, and we would love to have you with us. It's going to be an extraordinary online event. And today I'm thrilled to have one of our presenters, Tryshe Dhevney, who is a sound energy expert. Welcome, Tryshe.
Oh, thank you so much. Lovely to be here.
Thank you. Tryshe Dhevney is a sound energy expert, author, international speaker, and best-selling Sounds True crystal bowl recording artist. She is recognized as an authority in the field of harmonic and vocal sound attunement. For over 3 decades, she has pioneered and refined her highly effective sound energy healing and toning technique called sound shifting and the VIP mentorship intensives. Tryshe's method for whole body transformation inspires individuals to use their own voice as the creative force for mastering well-being in their lives. Her simple techniques and attitudes put health, wealth, and wholeness within anyone's grasp. She is a repeat presenter offering prescriptive sound strategies with the University of Arizona Integrative Medicine Fellows and medical students, as well as the lead sound practitioner at the world-renowned Canyon Ranch Health and Wellness Resort in Tucson, Arizona, where she lives with her husband of 28 years. And you can find more about her at soundshifting.com. Tryshe, I'm just thrilled to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
How did your life and your work lead you into, I was going to say a very narrow field, but it's really not, this enormous field of the power of our voice?
Well, I think it's become enormous because we are recognizing that it is a medium that has been untapped and quite powerful, but we don't quite fully understand it yet, but the science is getting there. However, I approached sound through an actor lens. I was an actor, a singer. So I learned about the instrument as an actor, but it was in short order. I started realizing there are elements of spiritual alignment to this, but again, I was not too mature. I was 24 when I was starting to really have these thoughts and explore sound in a very specific way. And one day I was in an acting company in Boston. It was a Sufi-based acting company. So it had a unique focus. And the Sufi healing order came to the rehearsal one day and offered us 7 simple tones. And they were soft vowels. And so I filed it away as an actor tool. So fast forward, I am in recovery from multiple addictions for 43 years. So when I got sober in 1980, I started to play with an idea about creating theater for young people. Mm-hmm. But the focus for the theater was their authentic expression about their addiction and how they got recovery. So I started to work with these young people, and I realized that they were not able to find their center, find their emotional core in order to both have safety and authenticity when they're sharing with their audiences. So I brought out these tones, and within short order, I started to work with the kids. It was an amazing time, and the work was quite powerful. And toward the end of my 20th year, I was told I had a disease that was killing me. I had chronic hepatitis C and stage 4 liver disease. And I was told I had about 9 months to a year to live. And upon hearing that news, I did what any self-respecting woman in Tucson does. I went shopping at the gem show. Because they had just discovered this disease. They just named it. It had been around, but they didn't really know what to do with it. They gave me the option of a few things, but I opted for alternative modalities. But I also discovered this little bowl, this Tibetan bowl, at the gem show, and I was transfixed. And I brought it home and I started to play it and vocalize with it. I loved it. I loved it just for the sheer pleasure it gave me to be in this little field without having anybody breathing down my neck with tempo, words, meaning, all of the things that and trappings of vocalizing can do as a professional. So I was freely just roaming like a little 3-year-old in a bathtub. It was so fun. And though the doctor put me on chemotherapy, he started to take me off of it right away. And within 4 months, I was completely cured. Although he didn't call it curing, he saw it.
Well, they rarely do.
He saw it as a spontaneous remission. It will come back. You don't get rid of this much viral load. And it never came back. I kept working with sound. The thing that got my attention, however, was what happened. I needed to know there was a biological response to something that was just sheer joy for me. Mm-hmm. And so I started to think backwards. What did I do? What were the effects? What research is out there? So for the last 23 years, I've been researching this modality, which wasn't a modality at the time. It was
stop you right there?
Yeah.
23 years. That was 23 years ago. And were told you had 9 months to live.
Yeah. Right.
It's stunning.
It is. And yet, when you start to enter the world of sound, moving energy, vibrating with tone and sound, it becomes apparent what is possible. I joke with my audiences, like my live audience, I say I'm 108, but clearly I'm not 108, except that what we're learning is how it is a youthing experience because the body is getting enough. We're just looking at the biologics of it, biodynamics. You're getting more oxygen moving through every part of you when you're making sound. Mm-hmm. But then it's also happening with your voice, with your speaking voice. So it's not just you have to open your mouth and make a pretty sound. It's really using your voice. And that was the key for me. The bowl was an ancillary, actually. It was my support material. The voice was the thing that did the curing.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of your pure joy at using this bowl, you were also, well, you said you were singing, you were vocalizing in whatever way brought you joy.
I was just roaming with free tone, just vowels, because I could shape my mouth to match the bowl, and then I could bend it and play with it. So I literally was just playing around and playing with harmonics, not understanding how I was energizing my breath, lowering blood pressure, reducing stress. All of these things we now know scientifically was happening. So that was how I got well. And it wasn't until, about 8 years ago when I became aware of the vagus nerve and Stephen Porges' work, where I began to really understand what was the mechanism that created well-being in my body.
I was going to ask you about the vagus nerve and its role.
It's incredible. It's incredible. It is back in the day when people had digestive issues, they would cut it out. They would get rid of it. What?
Get rid of what?
Vagus nerve. They would cut it. Yeah, because they perceived that the vagus nerve, which also is a powerful dynamic for releasing digestive enzymes and helping the body to digest food. Well, people who had issues with food and digestion, they thought was being obstructed through the vagus nerve.
That blows my mind.
Which it wasn't. The vagus nerve is the thing that actually creates the way for the body to restore to whole balance. Yeah. But I began to explore the power of the voice. And though I play the crystal bowls, I have great success recording with them. I love them. They're delicious. They're not the thing that's doing the, I put in quotes, healing. The thing that heals is the sound of our voice. So what I began to realize is those 7 tones that I worked with my young actors, I saw them transform, but I couldn't understand the somatic properties that were being infused with the oxygen and vibration and how the body was starting to move back into a sense of well-being. Trauma was being released. There was so much going on that we didn't have science for it yet. Today we have a lot more science, but there's more to be uncovered and more to be discovered. My mission now is to simply create experience with sound, with the voice, and with the bowls, because that experience offers us a gateway into our sensory vitality, the energy that propels us through time and space. And it also restores the vitality in the cells, which is where our knowledge, everything that we need in this life exists.
That reminds me, I heard a young channel, very young channel, he's less than 10, the other day talking about how every cell is its own being within us. Every organ has its own consciousness. Everything within us is a system, right? We're the universe within. And you're talking about.
That's exactly right. And when we are in utero and we're beginning to be formed, the first sense to come online is our hearing. And we can literally hear ourselves be developed through the harmonic pattern in the amniotic fluid. So we are harmonic beings. We can hear ourselves in the heart, the spleen, all of the organs, the bone structure, everything. We can hear is a harmonic, symphonic experience of universal energy. So when I begin to work with people, and I will share this in my presentation, with the primordial tones that I began to use with my students, which is what these sounds are that we hear, we'll be able to activate that vitality in the cell, decreasing the stress levels and really opening up the capacity for the cell to not only be in its own vitality and vigor, but it also gives us access intuitively and inspirationally to our whole body wisdom.
So I'm imagining, I'm sitting with that. It's unlocking, it's doing so many things at once, right? It's aligning us, healing us. And then you said unlocking our creativity. That's
and evolving
everything.
Yes. And the secret in the sauce is moving vibration. It's not understanding. The intellect wants to understand. It wants to know how it's happening, which is great. But we must at some point suspend that and just have the experience. And that's where the body takes over. When you open your mouth and make a simple sound of ah, what that does through the entire system cannot be defined. It's so powerful. And yet it is something that we have access to. And it's real simple. You say it's just an open sound of ah. But most of us don't understand how to bring life to that sound. Most of us have a flat tongue, have a lot of tension in our neck, have a lot of small articulating chamber in our mouth. So we just make the sound like this. It's really flat. There's no open vitality. So what I find in my work is really dedicated to opening up this power source so that we are creating quality in the sound of our voices, which is what creates the quality in our creative force.
Wow.
So we can have brilliant ideas, but if we're tight and held and constricted, we've been swallowing and editing and managing our output, our voices, we are silencing our evolutionary power.
We'll be right back. The Women's Agency is proud to be an Indigo sponsor of Tapestry Feminine Collective and this podcast. The Women's Agency is a full-service coaching and podcasting firm devoted to amplifying your work in the world because your voice matters.
We are silencing our evolutionary power.
So what's the prescription?
Sound. Open wide, say ah.
And you said, and that sounds like relaxing and loosing and creating spaciousness for it to do through.
And most of us have practiced swallowing other people's ideals for us, other people's truths about us. We have swallowed all of this. So what that has done is altered the quality of our expression. So our jaws are tight, our necks are tight, our shoulders are tight. Sometimes I'm alarmed at how small someone's voice can get when I see them as dynamic, powerful, especially with women. But I see it also in men. Mm-hmm. That modifying and modulating, especially a woman in power, she's practiced in some unknown, unseen way, being smaller so that she doesn't overpower her colleagues. So she doesn't have that dynamic idea that would threaten somebody. So that's pretending that we will threaten somebody rather than moving into the understanding that if I thrive, you thrive. If I stand up and expound and express the quality of who I am, everyone benefits.
And you're speaking to, as an aside, really to me, the crux of the age into which we're moving. It's this really beautiful blend of integrity and honoring and alignment with ourselves, with the understanding that it benefits the whole. It serves the whole.
Yes.
In empowering us and ourselves, it empowers the community.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
And what I love about sound is it knows no bounds. It hits no wall. It moves through all time, space, dimension. So the other piece of that is our spoken word, which is how we direct the sound.
Well, that's where I was going next. So go for it.
Well, there's unstable molecules in every space we walk into. Our voices arrange those molecules and direct those molecules. Whether we're speaking positively, negatively about ourselves or others, whether we're speaking in a vision or just complaining about the laundry, all of it is affecting not only our nervous system, but lives on forever.
What? Lives on forever.
Yes.
Because nothing is ever lost.
It's infinite. Nothing is ever complete or done. So the quality of the voice is so important because it's the carrier wave of consciousness. And consciousness is really not so much a thing that we utilize. It is what stores the awareness that we carry. And if we keep having experiences, like I'm sure women who are coming to this experience are moving right at a leading edge of their journey. They're moving into a new profile. They're moving into executing a new vision. Or maybe it's just having new family relationships or relations. All of that is a new place that we are exposing ourselves to, and it requires authenticity. How do I do authentic? How do I live in my authentic, vulnerable, conscious, without having to take ownership of someone else's experience? I want to help you. I want you to be happy. I want you to get what I'm saying. No. You move into, this is who I am. This is my offering. This is how much love I have for what I do, for who you are. That's it.
I mean, you're saying so many things that are familiar to me, but when you bring them all together, it just really drives home not just the power of our voice, but the power of us, who we are
and
as
who
humans.
We recognize the quality of who we are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and recognizing and standing in that.
The beauty of it is awareness is 98% of it. So if you become aware of your voice, if you become aware of how small you might have been and are now beginning to open it, you're also opening yourself to receiving more information about who you are. And are you willing to step into that? Because we're magnificent. As women, as people, as mothers, as daughters, through our mistakes and through our successes, we are victors. And we move into that without an excuse, without hesitation. We just move forward. However, that doesn't mean I got here. I was born here. I've fallen off stages. I've fallen off pedestals. I've fallen off my own idea of who I thought I was. But it took that for me to get to this place, to recognize that the source of who I am is a co-creative experience with all that is. That's a big phrase. I understand that. But
yeah.
We recognize that through sound. And we don't need to understand it any longer. We experience it. There it is.
So the title of your presentation is Unlock the Manifesting Secrets of Your Voice. Without giving away the secret sauce, as you say, what can you tell us about that? We're going to explore those sounds, those basic tones.
We're going to explore those sounds, but also the words, the language signatures we use, and be intentional, not only in what we are saying, but how we say it. If I'm complaining about the political unrest, how does that engage me in that? Where am I a particle of that? So the difference is I don't spiritualize matter. I don't say, it's not happening. No, it doesn't exist. That sorrow does not exist. I recognize it and I place myself in the middle of it by choice and say, how do I choose to be who I am? And if I have a voice that's swallowed, if I have a lot of fear in my voice, I'm going to be terrified of being in that middle. And yet I could be saying, no, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm woman, hear me roar. When in fact, those are pieces of words that aren't connected to an authentic place. So that's what we're doing, is lining up the authentic place and the feeling state, not emotional feeling, but the sensory experience of what it is we are choosing to experience in life on a daily basis, moment to moment.
What are your thoughts on affirmations and where they fit into this? Using affirmations.
That's a great question. A lot of times we say affirmations that we hope for rather than realize are part of us.
It's something out there, a place we want to get to.
Yeah, we want to get to. We already have it. That's what sound does. It turns us around so we can see our reflection. We are that. If I'm saying, I hope for this, I want to have that, I need to have a community around me, I move into a place of, I own the community I'm a part of. And my community is showing up with me, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart, voice to voice. They are there. And it starts to happen. And you feel it in your body. It's not a wish for, it's a knowing I have, which is with those primordial tones that I work with, each of those come with a root signature tone or word. And when we start to place those words into the highly suggestible part of the brain that's available to us once we make sound, we now are planting seeds that grow and grow. There's no end to the root system of our voices then.
I can feel that. I can feel the power of centering yourself with yourself and moving from knowing, not from belief or wish.
Desire, right? Hope for, not from belief, exactly. But I know. So the root tone, primordial tone, the word is I have. That's the word. It's not I have stuff, I have a house, I have friends, I have. It is I have all that I need to be the extraordinary success I came to be, to live the quality of my life that I know I am. I have. So when you realize that when you say that word, that's what you're sending through your nervous system, through your thoughts, launching as particle into the atmosphere and charging atomic particles to go where you intended to go. That's power.
That is power. I can feel it. I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my whole energy field, how that shifts, brings you just like right here, right now into all that you are.
Unequivocated. No hesitation. No hope. I am. So I see with this collective, this extraordinary opportunity that's happening in November, where we are as a collective moving into the resonant state of that awareness. This is where real change will happen.
Yes.
And we are a vibratory network as we tune ourselves to that mission of knowing who we are. There's no fight. Mm-hmm. We are. And it's a weaving of our individual. Yeah. Yes. It's
the energetic signatures together.
Yes. Yes. And the tapestry in ancient days were built by master weavers who worked from the back end. Mm-hmm. They never worked from the outside and fixed it from the outside. They were coming in from the back end, didn't see. They just knew. Mm-hmm. That gold thread was weaving through this moment to create what was going to be seen. That
reminds me, I did some research into, of all things, ancient Andean woven textiles. Mm. And they said the inside was just as beautiful as the outside because every stitch was sacred. And it wasn't like, we'll put the pretty on the outside and all the ugly ends on the inside. No, it was all perfected because it was the process. It wasn't the end result.
And it carried intention, grace, and a sense of the sacred.
Yes.
And what I really recognize sound does at its core is help us remember how sacred we are. The vessels, we are bowls. So I get to work with bowls, but I am a bowl. So what tone am I going to put forth? What beautiful harmonics am I going to create as I talk to you? As I talk to all those listening, what is my bowl resonating with? That's where we want to drop that sound into quite literally the perineum. Let's sound it. That's the base of my bowl, my human bowl. So that's what we're going to explore in the presentation.
I'm there. I can't wait. Well, we are just so honored to have your presence and your energy and your voice and you weaving into this community. It's the power of sound, of our voice, the way it empowers our entire beingness and consciousness. I see that as a vital element to the tapestry we're weaving together in this community.
Thank you.
So thank you for saying yes.
Honor and pleasure.
So you can, if you check out our website, you will see Tryshe's bio and her presentation. Cannot wait to see that in full. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Tryshe, for being here. We are looking forward to this online experience and see how Tapestry unfolds in the future as we move forward, because we all just know this is a movement. It's more than just a 3-day experience.
It's already happening.
It is.
And we're all lining up. This is something we've been waiting for and didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
We've been lining up to do this in a way that really masterfully moves energy of the divine feminine. And we're assembling.
We are. We're here.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you joined us. Trish, how can people find out more about your work?
They can go to soundshifting.com, which is my website. My crystal bowl music is all over all the digital platforms. If people want to listen, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music.
Ooh, yeah.
So there is ways to access me. I also am on YouTube. And so you can get a preliminary glimpse into the primordial tones. The key piece is the spelling of my name, which is Tryshe. So if you type that in most all the time, that will pop up my full name and all my discs.
Beautiful. And we will also have that information in the show notes for people to access. Thank you so much for joining us here on Tapestry Feminine Collective Podcast. We will see you here again next time. Be well. Thank you for joining us on Tapestry Feminine Collective Podcast. To learn more, visit tapestryfemininecollective.com.